कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचरी यमुना तीरा वनचरी ओ जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचरी यमुना तीरा वनचरी अजय राधा माधव बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज 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 बिहारी अजय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय 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 राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी Hamma Hava Kunjabihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabihari Jayam Vishnupada Param Sa Pariprajika Charya Sutara Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Swami Prabhupada Ki Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Glories to the assembled devotees, glories to the assembled devotees, Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Namo Shivadaya Kismutai Bhattare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Pramani Namaste Saraswati Rekordavani Vachatini Vashesha Sunyavati Vashashade Shatarine Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militanyina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Today we are looking at Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is and as it should be. Okay? And it's chapter 18, the perfection of renunciation, and it's text number 37. Verse selected today by Agni Dev Prabhu. Woo. Let's go through the word by word. Yat tad agre visham iva. Yat tad agre vishvam. I'm sorry, I have to bring it closer. Yat tad agre visham iva. Pariname Amritopamam Pariname Mritopamam Tat Sukham Satvikam Proktam Tat Sukham Satvikam Proktam Atma Buddhi Prasada Jam Atma Buddhi Prasada Jam Yat Tad Agre Vishang Iva Pariname Mritopamam Tat Sukham Satvikam Proktam Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. Would anybody else like to tackle it? Yattad agre visham eva hariname mritopamam tatsukam sat Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. And the okay. Yatat agre visham iva pariname mritopamam tatsukam satvikam proktam Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. Okay? Good. So we'll go on to the next, word by word. There's some feedback here. Prashadam isn't on yet, so we shouldn't have feedback, right? Okay. Yat. Which. Tat. That. Agre. In the beginning. Vishamiva. Like poison. Pariname. At the end. Amrita. Nectar. Upamam, compared to. Tat, that. Sukham, happiness. Sattvikam, in the mode of goodness. Proktam, is said. Atma, in the self. Buddhi, of intelligence. Prasadajam, Jam Prasadam. I'm just joking. Prasadajam, born of the satisfaction. Okay. And when we put all these words together, this is what we get. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be in goodness, in happiness, to be happiness in the mode of goodness. So please repeat. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. And purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and the senses, and to concentrate the mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult. What do people used to call us? We are a cult. Difficult. But we are not. Okay. Very difficult. Bitter like poison. But if one is successful in following the regulations and comes to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar, and he enjoys life. And that's it. Haribol. Srimati Bhakti Marg Swami Namani Sri Saraswati Devi Koramani Charini Nirvishi Shishanyavadi Pasachiti Shatarini. Hare Krishna. Okay, so we are at the final chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18. So Krishna is winding up things. So it's a summary, really. Certain chapters are summarizations. Chapter 18 does this. It pulls a lot of things together. And so Krishna is talking about the three modes of material nature, which is just a theme that appears in the Gita again and again and again. Three modes of nature. Very interesting to look through the world through the three modes of nature. So I get a chance to go to some schools, secondary school level, university level, and we sometimes introduce the Vedic philosophy, Bhagavad Gita. That's your obligation, that's why you're there. You talk about the three modes in terms of goodness, passion, and ignorance. That is Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. It's very interesting to see the kind of responses that come from the students when you explain these three ways of living. And when you put them in different categories, different boxes or departments, and you go through different things like style of dress or mode of nature in terms of what's the weather conditions, and they get it right. They really you put them to the test, and they get it on pretty good. Like if you talk about, okay, it's 50 degrees Celsius, and what's that like? What's that? Which mode? And they can tell you. It's mode of ignorance. Or when it's raining hard, what's that mode? Anybody? Raining? Passion. Yep. And when the weather's really nice and comfortable, it's a little bit of a breeze, and the birds are chirping, and everybody's happy, and angels are flying in the air, whatever. Then what kind of weather conditions is that? Well, goodness. And then you talk about food. You say, okay, let's go for some hot Mexican food. What mode of nature is that? Passion, okay. Let's go for some bland English muffins. Oh, sorry, Mataji. I'm sorry. Okay, but I did say bland. Okay, or let's say healthy 12 grain muffins, with a hinks of butter spread on it, and a little bit of prashadam jam. As the verse says that here. Then what do you have? Goodness, okay. And what if you, sausage. And they get it. They actually understand these, I'm telling you, they understand because it's been around for a long time. And then you get into music, okay? And you start talking about, you select some music pieces, like say, let's go for a Mozart piece. What do they say? They either say, okay, goodness or borderline passion. It depends on which piece it was. And then when you talk about hip hop, and you know what they say? Or heavy metal. You know what they say? They admit it. Yeah, I love ignorance. I live by it. I'm one of those gothic people. And I look like my blood is drained. And I haven't slept for 12 years or more. And I wear black and red, and those are the only colors that are real colors, So, you get that kind of thing. So people understand them. It's not. So now what's nice about, I know we discussed this in Guyana. I hope I'm not repeating my talk from the other day. Mataji, if you forget. Okay. So when you look through the world in terms of through the glasses of the three modes of material nature, it's easier to make decisions based on goodness, passion, and ignorance. For instance, you're in a tough spot. I got to make a decision. Should I buy this car? Okay? And the car is maybe a little more than you need. Maybe you can do with something that's not as fancy schmancy. Okay? You're just in one of those moods of spending. You're in the mode of passion. So when you admit it, I'm going to make a decision. Okay, I'll buy it. I'll look good. Neighbors will notice me, etc., etc. But after a month or two, you realize it's a little hard to make the payments. So you look in long-term situations, say, well, it's not good for me in the end. It'll turn into anxiety, because what's passion now oftentimes converts to ignorance. And when there's depression, it's ignorance. They work together. They're a couple. They get married to each other. So it makes it really easy to deal with life in those circumstances in terms of making decisions. Are you making a decision? Is it in which realm? Which one of the three? So when it comes to sattva guna means thoughtfulness. There's some time put into the, let's say, decision making, into the processing. Rajaguna, less thought is put in there. It's the immediate, instant gratification, stimulation. Now, I get it now. Yeah, therefore it's right. And that's passion. And that always is really nice. Everybody likes instant stimulation, isn't it? We're on the same page, riding the same wave. Okay? Whether you're surfing in Hawaii or not, we're on the same surfing board. Okay? So, when it comes to ignorance, well, there isn't much thought put it at all whatsoever. The buddhi has not had a chance. The intelligence has not had the opportunity to play a role in the decision making. So it's good to activate the muscle, the brain. It is a muscle, and everybody likes big muscles, right? Like people, ladies, for the guys, guys with the ladies. No, hopefully not. Okay, everybody. So the muscle, the brain, it'll stay big when it gets used. I have heard, I can't explain it, I can't verify it scientifically, but people who use a lot of devices and they don't use their heads so much, but a lot of cell phone usage and all that, they've found that people's brains are shrinking. They're just not using them so much like they used to. But it makes sense, doesn't it? Makes logical sense. So it would behoove us, like it would be intelligent to act in goodness as much as possible. To give some clear thought to it and bring some people into the ring. Of course, you can't invite the whole town. We're going to buy a car, because you can't ask everyone to come and decide on whether you buy a car or not, but at least get a few people involved, to make a decision. Otherwise, you're left out in left field, when you see that it's tough going. You made the decision by yourself, honey, so why didn't we get in on it together? So anyways, just a few heads are better than one. Just talk to Brahma about that. Krishna is talking here to Arjuna about the three modes of nature, and he's beginning to speak about happiness. So I know that this verse conjures up the past. Agni Dev can confirm this for me or not. Because the word nectar was a real strong word in the 70s. And I think it's kind of died out. It got replaced by idlis or something else. Or sambar or something. I go around the temples and I see, the cuisine's changing a little bit. But for us, in the early days, nectar was the main fare for the Sunday love feast. And it was a blend of bananas, that gives it body. You might put in some oranges, and the better that it's all fresh. Just put in as much goodness in there, as many colors in there as possible. Let blueberries float in there. Let some cut lemons float on the top, and put in some real nice good cold water, and put in lots of white sugar. Okay. Those were the days when, I don't know if anybody remembers, in the late 60s, there was a famous songstress. Her name was Melanie, and she wrote a song about white sugar. I don't eat white sugar, I don't white bread. She was way ahead of her time. Okay? Way ahead of her time. And she said, in one line in the song, she says, and I don't eat animals, and they don't eat me. Okay. Something like that. That's the chorus. This is a beautiful song. Maybe somebody can pull it out. Pull it out and we can listen to it. And then all we conclude is, yeah, she was way ahead of her time. Okay. So, the first time sugar. We're talking about sugar. If things can be naturally sweet, that's the best. But our idea of a real feast is you have to be a little bit woozy, You have to. There has to be a little bit of during the kirtan. I can remember seeing one bhakta. He had his body stretched over the washer and the dryer, in our temple in Toronto, and he just had too much sugar. At the Sunday feast. And the first time I ever met devotees, that was B.B. Govinda Swami. He was known as Yodhipati Vishvakarma. There was Drupada, Dustadura, and Satyahit, who's now in Alachua, running the loading and unloading the food for the Gainesville people. Gainesville, actually, Florida. So the devotees, that was my first experience with bald-headed creatures. And in those days, everyone sported hair. You were proud of your hair. But these people, who call themselves hairy Krishnas, had no hair. It made no sense to me. And they had white powder on their forehead. And they wore bed sheets and things like that. And they were but I was totally intrigued because I knew that the Beatles were into this, and they were philosophical, and they were monks, and they were very rare. It was a rarity. They were novel. And I wanted to hook up with the people who were a little bit ahead of their times. And they were ahead of their times. They're at the cutting edge. Prabhupada came with cutting edge culture. So the devotees, I invited them to my home. I met them the day before, and I purchased a Bhagavad Gita and said, "Where are you staying, guys?" I said, "We've been staying in a church basement, but looks like we're not there tonight. So, why don't you stay at my place?" So they stayed at my place. And they had hot milk with lots of sugar in it. Now, grown men, hot milk? This is hard to believe, right? And of course, to quote Srila Prabhupada, he said, "Hot milk is meant for babies and old men." So the devotees, they were very. I took them. They were in a very serious mode, and the way they carried themselves. There was also a very spontaneous childishness to them. And I remember my roommate. He wasn't there at the time, but we had LPs. They're like big CDs. They're like humongous. You remember them? They're like CDs. And All Things Was Past. That album was on the top of it. Hey, look, that's George Harrison, and he's got tilak on, and they all kind of like dove to the pile of the LPs, and they kind of like handled it so much. Later on, my roommate, he was kind of annoyed with them, but they were all very spontaneous, in the way they were like children. Everything was like a big discovery. And then they looked at the windowsill. My roommate, he had a marijuana plant, and they said, "That should be Tulsi." I said, "What should it be?" "It should be Tulsi." I never heard the word before. He says, "I've got nothing to do with it. It's my roommate's." And it was just very interesting how they carried themselves. But when they had a good laugh, why? Because such a hit was acting very drunk on the super saturated, sugary hot milk. And he was talking to the other people in the residents of that home. It was near the college that I went to. And so he was, let's say, fired up on sugar. So anyways, we're going back to nectar. Amrit. Amrit, with ISKCON, it was a big word in the old days. And we thought, like, nectar, this is the most amazing thing. And since then, smoothies have, and we'd add yogurt to the nectar, right? Yogurt or buttermilk. Like, that is another thing that ISKCON invented. Nobody else did it before us. We did it. We did it. But they did it. I mean, I didn't do it, but other devotees came up with this idea. Before, we invented smoothies. But we were silly enough not to package it and wrap it and to give ourselves the credit. We were very humble in those days. So Amrit became, or let's say nectar became a big word for it. It was a big thing to look forward to on Sunday. And when we start to read the Shastras, and get serious about the Bhagavatam, there's a story in there, of course, about the 8th canto, correct? About the churning of the ocean of milk. Amrit. Amrit had eventually arose from the churning of the ocean of milk. So as you know how the story goes, there was a truce between, there was a cooperation. Like sometimes we hear about devotees not cooperating. Well, why can't we cooperate? Because the demons and the devotees did. If we cooperate with demons, then devotees should cooperate with devotees. Right? Doesn't it make sense? And then, so when they got together and they used Vasuki as a way of stirring the thing with the pivot of underneath the back of the Kurma avatar, and Mount Meru as the sort of like the thing that kept it all, in one place. They made the world's first, we're talking about firsts, the world's largest milkshake. First and largest. And since then, never has anything been so colossal. So, whenever there's a project underway, and the project was to be able to achieve some of the riches of the world, because it was understood if you stir up the ocean of milk, many treasures will surface. That happens sometimes, like if you, in the nectar, you stir it up, the Sunday feast nectar, and then some of the real good stuff comes to the top. That's when you scoop it up. Okay, so what happened is in this churning ordeal, poisons came first. And like when you're trying to do a project, try to build a temple, everything looks good. We got the drawings, we got potential donors, we got people who are, have put their names down to, what do you call that? They haven't donated, but what's the term? They pledged. You got pledges like, tens of thousands of dollars all written down. Everybody's a bunch of happy chappies. We have the land and everything like that. And then you get, you start rolling with it, and there's a lot of initial, we like to say, excitement, positive energy. And then you hit some bumps on the road. Boop, And it's a hurdle, it's a testing time. And if you work hard at it, you're very determined, very concentrated and focused, you'll get over that hump. And the other humps and the other hoops that you have to jump, you get through it. You just get through it. You have to keep going on with your project. Especially if it's devotional, don't give up on it. Okay? And try to work towards cooperation and work with principles and work with values. And you'll succeed. And whatever was your projected figure, okay, $5 million project. Will it be $5 million when you're 2/3 of the way through? You start to realize, I think we miscalculated a little bit. It will be $7 million, okay? And then you have to start talking to people and explaining the whole thing and giving a lot of sleep is lost, for sure, And then you have some difficulties with the contractors. So many things come into play. That's just the way it is. We're doing a project. It's just the way it is. All kinds of hurdles are there. But in the end, when the ribbon cutting ceremony happens, then Amrit, Hare Krishna. And put lots of white sugar in, if you like. Or molasses, or, Canadian maple syrup. By the way, I'm Canadian. I always have to put a plug in for Canada. So it is experienced, and Krishna's explaining this too, that what in the beginning appears like poison will in the end taste like nectar. That's actually called tapasya. Tapasya brahmacharijina shamena cha damena cha. So when tapasya means, like, I spent a little time with our Hayagriv, okay? So Hayagriv, he's living as a brahmachari in the temple, and he's chosen to be in the tapasvi mode, to take up austerities. So what it means is that you voluntarily take up some inconveniences in order to help build character, to achieve greater gains later on. That's what tapasya is all about. It's looking at long-term situations. So Srila Prabhupada explained about Shreyas and Prayas, two principles in life. Shreyas means when you do something which brings about long-term, it's like a long-term investment. You don't see the results right away. In the long term, it looks good. Prayas means I get immediate, instant satisfaction. Right? And so that is called prayas. So Srila Prabhupada likened this to Krishna when he was young. Krishna, who's still young, by the way, still Navayovanam. He never gets old. I've never seen him with crow's feet or, salt and pepper hair. He's always young. And Krishna he was called by his mother, Yashoda, it's time to eat now. Come, son, come home. I don't know what she did, what kind of call it was. Krishna, I hope it was Krishna. Maybe, people do all kinds of calls to call people, like yodeling, and what do you ladies do? Ululating? The turkey sound. at Kirtan, which really does heighten the Kirtan. So she was calling Krishna, and Krishna was reluctant to come. He was apprehensive because, just wanted to continue to play. But Yashoda, being the proper parent, was thinking, I have to take care of my son. My son must eat, otherwise he will be sick. My child must have the nourishment in order to carry on. But a child doesn't think like that. A child is just having fun. Oh, why are you asking? Okay, unless if it's pizza, then kids stop and everybody runs. They'll drop everything for pizza. Am I right about that? Sometimes we do little drama workshops, or I try to get. We're doing a scene, and we're trying to be happy people here, okay? So I just say, just think pizza, and then it works. It always works. And we smile. So it is a matter of motive goodness means for ultimate benefit. What seems to be a little painful now, a little, in the end will be to your benefit. And that kind of training goes on in the forces. You go. Anybody here been with the military forces or naval forces? Anybody? I can't put up my hands. I haven't been. You been?
Yes.
So just one person? One-man army show? Okay, just one person. Okay, so did you get something out of it?
The discipline.
The discipline, yes. One time I was walking. I've done a few walks. I walked Trinidad, by the way. I cheated. I just did the width, not the length. Okay? And but I walked Canada, and I was near the foothills of the Rocky Mountains, and I came upon a gorge, and a very deep cut gorge, and there were a bunch of guys. They were crossing with a 3-rope bridge. 3-rope means you hold it with your hands on the sides to go across this bridge, and the third one is where your feet go, and that's part of the training. So it just so happened that one of the guys who was in this battalion from Edmonton, they said, Hare Krishna. I didn't even notice them because they were so well camouflaged, in the shade and shadow of the trees and the greenness and all that. And so I decided to come over. That was like an invitation, Hare Krishna. Okay, come on, I'll come over. And then we watched, one by one the guys went over, and as each one made it, they, hey, yeah, like it was a great achievement. They were going through this. And so I asked one of the guys, so why are you going through this? Why did you decide to be part of our forces? I said, well, I needed to concentrate in my life. I needed some focus in my life, so that's why I joined. So, I can relate to that. I'm a monk. It's the same kind of thing. So it brings about some discipline, brings out a sense of concentration and, a kind of focus which people need. From chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada speaks about Sparrow Determination. The sparrow laid her eggs by the ocean nearby, and then a wave came and then took the nest of eggs that she had laid, and then she was all upset and just in a frenzy. Birds do get like that. And then she threatened the ocean and said, I'm going to dry you up, ocean. You bring back my eggs, or I'll dry you up. And the ocean was just laughing. Oh, really? Get serious? So the ocean didn't cooperate, and the bird feverishly started to peck away at the water and swallowing the water, and going at it like this. What are the chances of drying up the ocean? So in the meantime, a much bigger bird came around. His name's Hare Krishna. There he is. There he is. Garuda came along, and he's bigger than that Prabhu there. And he was flying above, and he saw all this commotion down below, and so he swirled down and scudded down into the sand at the edge of the ocean. I said, so what's going on, Sister Bird? I said, well, the ocean has taken away my eggs, and I threatened the ocean that if he didn't bring back my eggs, I will just swallow him up. So that's what's happening, eh? And so he stood there like a Kshatriya, and stood there. Ocean, you bring back those eggs, or I'll dry you up. So what we learned from that beautiful story, and some people say, it's a story, but it's a story that gives beautiful imagery, gives hope, and if you're determined about something, if you have a lot of conviction, you'll get something done. So the Devatas and the Asuras, they stayed on that vein of determination, and finally they got what they wanted. They got the Amrit came, treasures came, gods and goddesses came out. Shiva showed up. Like, Haribol, how's it going? And Lakshmi Devi showed up, and Dhanvantari, and he came with the real Amrit, which is what everybody is really looking for. They were looking for elixir, an elixir which makes you practically immortal, and that's what they wanted. And once it was in the pot, and Dhanvantari, this real good, cool-looking dude, came with this Amrit, this pot of Amrit, and they were, everyone was very greedy. Okay, when do we get that nectar? When do we get it? And it just so happened there was a squabble that went on between the demons. This is a symptom of like a demonic quality when you can't cooperate. When there's dissension, you just totally argue forever and ever and ever. Amen. It's a symptom of demonic, like ignorance. Sometimes you have to agree to disagree and just get on with life. Come on. Get it together. We're Vaishnavas. So anyways, the demigods played their cards right. The Devatas started to say, well, I should have it first. No, I should. No. They were fighting over who should have the first, drops of water. And it just so happened that just kind of to settle the matter, this beautiful manifestation, the Lord came as Mohini Murti. That's the Vishnu manifestation, female version, came. And everyone got sort of, this is a very nice lady. They got a little distracted. They left the Amrit for a minute, looked at her for a bit. And she just happened to keep smiling. And she took this Amrit and just tipped it over a little bit so that the demigods could, how are you guys doing over there? Talking to the Asuras over this, tipping it over. And one of them got a little wise. His name was Rahu. And he sort of made his way. He snuck his way over there. And he took some drops. And Vishnu acts really fast. Vishnu's really fast. Whether, he's he or she. Okay? So she. These days, it's like that sometimes. Released the chakra, and cut off the head of Rahu. And that kept alive the rest of but because the Amrit didn't get down to give that sort of vitality that was required. So the body just went and stank, I guess. And then the head kept up as a major heavenly body that floats into the atmosphere. It's still alive today, but has a sort of a demonic mentality. Has preserved this because of the Amrit. Now, when people go to Haridwar or Rishikesh or different places where the Ganges, at the Mela, Kumbh Mela, famous Kumbh Mela, it has to do with where the drops of water fell by the Ganges. And that's why people go there. That's where you take bath, where the Amrit fell. And just like, it is really a kind of a stampede kind of program. Just like the Sunday feast was with the nectar. So it's a little bit like that. People go in the millions to the Kumbh Mela in India. Largest convergence of human beings on the planet. It puts Disney World to shame. And isn't that nice? That people still value spirituality in Kali Yuga. Because you wonder sometimes. Like some of the stuff you see going on. And you see it, the way the ads are and the way people are, the way they behave. Said, I guess it can't get worse than this. And you hang around and said, it is getting worse than this. It does get worse. As people get desensitized, you have to stimulate them more and more. And money always is made by vulgarities, isn't it? On the basis of vulgarity, money is made. I mean, it's actually very boring when everything's plain Janish, right? When everything's so good, and it's so boring, when everything's peaceful and the birds are flying in the air. Well, gotta have some fun. There's gotta be blood at least. There's gotta be some scandal, man. Kali Yuga, this is just what it's all about. There's gotta be something like really pathetically terrible, in order to make money, to roll money, and to get people all excited. Isn't it? Like in Canada, the national game is like hockey. So one person was joking, hey, I went to the fights and I broke into a hockey game. And, in Kali Yuga, everything loses its value. Even sport loses its value. It's become so commercialized, Everything's so commercialized. Even religion can become commercialized. So one has to be very careful. Let's keep things really nice, genuine, clean, integrity. Like if you're going to make Amrit, it's got to be like 1973 Amrit nectar. Lots of white sugar. No, I forget that. Okay, we should go healthy, for sure. Go healthy. Anyways, the point we're making here is that mode of goodness, like say, we do our fasts. That's an austerity. We don't eat meat. It's not an austerity. Is it? No, it's disgusting. I mean, I was raised on a farm, so we used to see animals. They were our pets, and then later on they grew up and ended up on the dinner table. And I was a kid growing with it. In my mind, there's something not right here. So, it's getting to the real nectar of life. So we are taking up some austerities, and we're encouraged to take a cool shower in the morning. Of course, there's nothing cold. I'm from Canada. You don't have cold. People show me, Mama, this is very cold. This is a very cold drink. And I say, listen, Prabhu, you don't know the meaning of the word. But you take a cool shower, even when it's kind of cold outside. You take a cool shower. Use your common sense, I would say. But things like, and you rise early in the morning so that you can do your japa, do your chanting, because it's your communication with Krishna. That's really important, that's the real profit. The profit is with Krishna. So you get up early in the morning, you get those rounds done, you do them nicely, from the heart. And that's the tapasya, because the senses don't care for that so much terribly. But if you keep going, it'll eventually happen. I was talking to some brahmacharis today. I was saying, when you get older, you lose, you lose a taste for certain things, and even sex desire diminishes. And they go, really? Yeah, it's true. And so there are things to look forward to as time goes on. So just invest now. Just control your senses. Just hold your horses, as they say. It's a good investment, because later on it will prove that, because you lived it clean. Now you'll see the benefit in the end. Excuse me. So we are talking about investment. Investment is just not money. Real investment means putting out some hardships, inconveniences for the sake of greater gain in the end. And that is the nectar. In the end, you'll be able to say, I did it, or we did it, or Krishna let me do it, or that's the better. You can never say, I did it. So it'd be nice if you can be in that position in life. Before you go, at your last conscious moment, you can say, if I was to have to do it all again, I'll do it the same way because I feel I'm close to Krishna now. So we do need to work towards that aim, that ultimate point, that very critical moment when it means so much, in terms of our destiny. So let's see what the real Amrit is like. Willingly take on some hardship, and it's easy to, most people are on easy street. They just want to slide along. But it's good to take up some austerities. So I generally encourage devotees to take up some exercise every day, physical as well as the spiritual. The sadhana is the spiritual workout. And the other things that we do, whether walking or running or swimming or, other just dancing at the kirtan, that's a physical workout, mopping the floors. So work with them hand in hand. Life should be very successful. So the message here is quite simple, and it's just very profound at the same time. That which in the beginning looks really wonderful usually turns negative. So that which appears negative will turn positive. You have to just embrace the negative. To be a little bit tough. Be a little bit rough and tough with yourself. Be nice with others. Right? That's usually it's a formula that works very well. So be hard like a thunderbolt on yourself, soft like a rose with others. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was giving that kind of an example in terms of how a saint may be. There's two components to, a very evolved person. Soft like a rose, hard like a thunderbolt. So be a little tough on yourself. You don't have to be so lazy. Crazy. Prabhupada actually said, we don't need lazies and we don't need crazies. But there's a little bit of both of those in all of us, and we have to work at those things. So there's a hard work to do, things to cultivate. So these are just some points that we wanted to bring on. This is really about the topic of happiness, and everybody wants happiness and satisfaction. And it will come when we implement these things. If you want happiness that's going to be short-lived, okay, passion is there. If you want happiness that's feigned, like counterfeit happiness, the mode of ignorance is there for you. You can just stick with that. It's a great program. It's just a great program. Just continues on. So are there any questions or comments that anybody may have in this regard? I'm not sure what time it is. Or Agnidev, when I should just hit, but I feel so blessed in your presence. I always had so much respect for you. I never said anything to you ever, because I only saw you in New Vrindavan once. But I always heard your tapes, and you're famous all over the world. You light people. You're the true person. You're the real purport of it. Come on, baby, light my fire. Because you're Agni Dev. But I remember in New Vrindavan, you were chanting, you were leading a kirtan there, and I can't remember what the big festival was all about. But you were chanting, Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama. And I remember there was someone, doing some yagya, and I think it was that building where they have the deities now. And you were there for that, and then a cow went in, and she did her plops she plopped right in the temple. Do you remember that? And then somebody did yagyas to get the ghosts out in case there would be any around. But you were going, Hari Harayana, in your cool Agni Dev fashion. And I was quite close to you, like physically, I was chanting, and I was just a nobody, just a brahmachari. Canada, But I'm so happy that you're back, like here in Trinidad. So nice to see you're back where you belong. Hello. Ugly day. You're looking swell. Okay, we got time for some questions. Prabhu in the back with Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Jeff. Yeah, okay, say it again. Loud.
Best surprise ever tasted in my life. When we used to store it in the basement on the dog stuff. We all about Mashari, we didn't have no problem.
Yeah. Where are you talking about? In Toronto. Okay. I didn't hear what you said. Okay. The best time of your life was there in Toronto. Bowls of sweet rice. Yeah. I mean, there was a time. And that was the Amrit. Yeah, our deities there are Radha Kirchur Gopinath. Kirchur Gopinath, which Chur, thief of Kheer. So we make 12 pots of Kheer. They're offered to the deities. And just like in Rimuna, so we call our temple New Rimuna Dham. And so we had special Kheer, and it's still going on after all these years. Thank you, Brew. That was wonderful. Amrit, just to remember those. Is Hari Dev here? Oh, that is Hari Dev. You know why you changed your hair color? And earlier on I saw you had no hair because you had one of those things on with glasses and tight clothes and you were on your bicycle, right? That was you, right? I figured it out after. Yeah. I remember you saw snow for the first time and I let you off into a parking lot in Kingston, Ontario. I felt very bad that I just dropped you off and here's a like a Southern Belle, or I mean like a tropical dude. And I dropped him off and that was the first time and just walking around, in the parking lot trying to get people interested. Do you remember that? Oh, please forgive me. Can I make it up for you? Can I give this to you? I mean, it's not mine after all. Everything belongs to Krishna. So, Hari Dev. Any other? Yes, bro. Well, I've been here for a while. Yeah. Yes. So you're right. Okay, so your comment is that you feel Prabhupada's voice is nectar, and I would agree with you. Give me a 5. Once in a while people play Prabhupada's voice, because you get so many people, so many kirtaniers out there now. They're playing all over in their cars and in the temples. And once in a while you hear Prabhupada and you say, who's that? You know what I mean? It's like, it'd be so nice to hear him more often because it's real clean and very pure. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. That's real Amrit to the ears. Yeah. That's a good comment. That's the best comment I heard in a long time. Like, it's very true. What's that? The modes. You're very theatrical. Can you be in my play, the next one I have You should sit up here, bro. That's very good. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate it. Are there other devotees that want to? Any other comments or deliberations, or did I say something wrong? Yes. Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. It's all done for you now. With technology, Mataji is pointing out that.
But then I was just thinking about that, as devotees, we also find ourselves, caught up in that.
Yes, as devotees, we find ourselves caught up in this world, yes.
Yeah, so we also use all these phones and the computer, the iPad and things,
Mm-hmm.
So then, if we do not, then we sort of kind of left behind.
Yeah, but I personally, I never suggested that we shouldn't use these devices. We should just draw a line, a limit, I mean, the whole thing is that, you can use them because it's part of your business, it's your livelihood. It's your means of livelihood. You use these tools. They're tools. That's what they are. But you don't get sucked into it. Just like, we know, everybody knows about conspiracy theories. Do we have any? Every community has one or two, like extremists. Do we have any in this community? No? Oh, thank God. Okay, anyway. So somebody can say Prabhupada was a conspiracy theorist in terms of, the space missions and so many other things, and he would say there's Rakshasas that are controlling. I don't have any doubt about these things. But then there's some people, they go very extreme with those things. Their whole life revolves around this conspiracy theorism. They generate this kind of suspicion in everybody. Everyone gets fearful, and it turns into like a mode of ignorance thing. We got to protect ourselves. We got to get some ammunition. We have to have arms now. You don't get sucked into it. There's some truth to it. Kali Yuga is what it is. It's a horrific time, but don't meditate on that. You got to meditate on the positive. The real ammunition in the end is the Yoga Dharma, the chanting of Krishna's name. That's the real meditation, the pure sound. Get it all absorbed in it. Come together. The communities can come together and sing together and dance together. And maybe it's just a half hour of your time. So, and that doesn't require any device. The device is called a voice, a tongue, ear. Those are good devices. So I would say, let's try to balance those things and not get, consumed by them. That your whole life depends on a device. Going from this little box to that little box to that screen to that monitor. Like these days, people have 3 phones at least. One at home, one which is a cell mobile, one for work, and when you call them, you can't reach them. So, hallelujah to all this technology. And, it's supposed to help on communications, but we see more separations, more divorces, more discontentedness, more dissensions than ever before. There's no interdependence. The dependence is on machines, not on people. So like recently, I wasn't in Toronto at the time, but 300,000 homes were without power at Christmas time. And there was a serious winter, like they had an ice storm. And I'm from there, but I was in the West Coast at the time. And, what they discovered? It was such a nice time. People got together with each other. Oh, you don't have power in your house? Well, you can stay in my house. And you can eat our food. So suddenly neighborliness comes. So like all this interdependence starts to take shape when there's a disaster like that. And I hate to say it, my dad used to say, John, that was my name before, we need another war. Why a war? I used to think. Because we looked after each other in those days. And the depression too. So maybe it takes those kind of things to shake people up again. After 9/11, at least for 1 week, people talk less about divorce than before or after. Or 1 month maybe. I'm an anti-divorce person, that's all. If people don't get along, okay. But, at least I'm just not into it. Sorry, I'm old-fashioned, old school. Sorry, I'm a traditionalist. You can throw rotten tomatoes at me now. Okay. All right. So, anything else? Yes, Ruth. Well, we do live in a system which is highly materialistic. We live in that kind of a world. So you do have to, let's say, play with the rules a little bit. And in order just to maintain your livelihood. But you also have to draw some lines, And you have to establish, what principles, how far you can go in this world of madness. But that's also an austerity. You have to look at it as an austerity when you're working in the world outside, and maybe the company isn't always that great, and your co-worker uses foul language sometimes, and you just let it run off your back and learn detachment. See, if you're not put in difficult circumstances, when will you learn patience and tolerance? If everything is so rosy like heaven, when will you grow? How will you grow? You only grow under difficult circumstances, isn't it? So Krishna puts us into situations, and sometimes it's like that in the brahmacharya ashram too. You might be some people you might not necessarily get so well along with, but you marry yourself to the mission and to the goal, the purpose, and work towards pleasing Krishna. That hot pink looks great. I love Kavi. I love he's very creative, and he's wonderful. He's a hero. He's actually a hero. But thank you. Is that okay? Was that an answer okay? From 1 to 10, what would you give it? 9? Oh, that's very generous of you. You're too kind. Are there any comments or questions? Okay, good. So Agni, do you or anybody else have anything else you want to say, like announcements, or you want to use the microphone? Or here, I'll just throw it in.
We were told that we would Is that good?
Yeah.
Well, you got me nervous. So, we were told that you have to go to the beach when you come to Trinidad. So, we were talking with Guru Prasad Maharaj, and he also would like to go, and he suggested that we leave tomorrow morning right after Mangal Arati at 5 o'clock, sharp. So I was thinking we'd go late. He said, no, there'll be traffic and So he said we can get there early and we can chant our japa on the beach, and we can come back in time for lunch. So is that good? Anyway, so there won't be a morning class, but everyone's invited to come. I believe we're going to Maracas Bay. Or Las Cuevas. Anyway, we'll see. Some people prefer Las Cuevas. Maracas is picture perfect, but Las Cuevas, it's not rough waves. It's metal. If you like the rough stuff, then. Which one? And what is Las Cuevas? So, anyway, we can sleep on it in the morning. Yeah. All right. So, but there won't be a class here tomorrow morning because there would hardly be anybody at that time. In the evening, there's a program at. That's been cancelled. So the program will be here. So there'll be Gita class in the evening at the temple. Guru Prasad Maharaj will be giving. You'll be here? I'll be here too. Okay. There is some prasadam for everyone. Okay.